All right, name, image, likeness. 3 words that have thoroughly transformed college football into an even bigger business, with some student athletes commanding millions of dollars a year to play for one of the nation's top programs. Now a movement is underway to give players an even bigger voice on the future of that sport. Brandon Copeland played 10 years in the NFL, now spends his time advising and educating the next generation of athletes. He is a member of CNBC's Global Financial Wellness Advisory Board, joins us once again at Post 9. Welcome back. It's good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
You are at the center, really, of this conversation, I think we can say it is, about where this is all going from here, specifically in terms of athlete representation at the collegiate level. So it was reported that just before the national championship game on Monday night, that prior weekend, there was a meeting of about 50 players who were discussing how to have a bigger seat at the table. And you were in the room.
Absolutely.
Can you shed some light on what was discussed and where this is all going?
Yeah, so first and foremost, it was historic that, like you said, college football players would fly into Atlanta on, frankly, their first weekend back from school break, so to speak, to talk about the business of college sports. They did that through athletes.org, their chosen players association, to understand, get educated first and foremost, but then also to organize and understand their thoughts on the different issues that college athletics leaders are making decisions on about them, without them. So how long should transfer portal be? What happens if you get hurt in the middle of the season and you have this NIL contract, but now because you can't play, the school takes away your NIL contract, right? There's a number of things that are going on in college athletics right now that the average fan sees and thinks that college athletes are finally making money. However, it's not all going through as planned. It's not as clean and organized as the pro level. So what does that actually mean? What does that look like, right? We had one young man who was a 5-star recruit, was going to go to a big SEC school, and he was going there, and he said during the conference, if that school would have paid me the money that they promised me to go there, then I would have paid for my father to have another kidney. And his father passed away last January. We have other folks who, a quarterback from Northwestern, spoke about how at your spring evaluation period, he's transferred a couple of times, but sometimes the coach is telling you, hey, you will never see the field here. So you either enter the transfer portal or we're going to push you off of this team, right? So there's a number of different things where college athletes right now need to be protected in their own players association so that they can have rules and standards that protect their livelihoods from compensation and health and safety standards.
To what degree do the institutions need to be protected, do you think? In terms of you're promising millions of dollars to a student athlete to go, play football at your school, theoretically over a 4-year period.
Right.
And if you decide that you're not going to stay for all 4 years, what protection is in place for the institution that has ponied up this money?
Yeah, right now, none, frankly, right? That's why you see guys that are literally decommitting from schools, or they're red-shirting in week 4 of the season as their team is having a most successful season of their generation, so to speak. UNLV's quarterback did that in the middle of the season last year, right? Because he was promised money that he never ended up getting. And so I think that by having the representation, you will also have great opportunities for the schools to actually have some real contracts that they can oversee as well, too, which is why it works so beautifully at the pro level.
Come back to you in just a second, but that bell is because of the second biggest IPO since July. Venture Global is open for business today. It did price at $25 a share. That was down from the 40 to 46 range, and you can see the trade on your screen right now. It's down, obviously, and we will track that for the remainder of this day. It is an LNG exporter, but it is big news because it's the second largest IPO since last July. Another question, just basically, do you think NIL is out of control or not?
I think NIL is out of control for a couple of different reasons. I think NIL, what people have to understand is NIL is name, image, and likeness, which is a marketing deal. So for Patrick Mahomes, it's a Subway deal, a State Farm deal. It's not the check he gets for throwing a touchdown pass to Travis Kelce. It's not pay for play. The NCAA and schools don't want to admit that it's pay for play because they're also afraid of triggering employment status for their athletes. When you create this house of cards, which NIL is, and you're not necessarily giving athletes a piece of the revenue that they generate for the media contracts, the ticket sales, the concession fees, and things of that nature. Now you have these misstructured contracts that end up being, again, what we keep seeing in the market with lawsuits. There were 7 players from Florida State basketball team that just filed a suit against their former coach and the school for promised money that they never actually received. And this is happening all over the place. There's only a few people who are coming out and actually suing today, but there will be more if they don't clean it up.
Is it the free market working the way it should? Or, for example, Carson Beck, most might know, was the starting quarterback for the University of Georgia.
Yep.
Great player. Gets hurt, gets replaced. He's transferring to Miami for $4 million. Yeah. It's probably only going to be there a year.
Yep.
Brock Purdy, who is the starting quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers, is still on his rookie contract. I don't even think he's making $1 million a year.
Right.
Is there something wrong with that dynamic? Does it need to be fixed, or is it purely the free markets at work?
I think that it needs to be fixed, but it needs to be fixed in a way where the schools have their representation and the athletes have their representation. Right now, the reason why this dynamic is happening is because the schools are trying to solve it all themselves without necessarily bringing the athletes to the table to figure out what the real structure should be, right? And until you bring the athletes to the table, you're going to try to continue to impose rules on them that they're not going to comply with. We just recently saw Wisconsin had a cornerback, Xavier Lucas, who decided to transfer. He wanted to go transfer to Miami. Wisconsin wouldn't allow him to transfer. So he said, you know what, since you're not going to let me transfer, I'm just going to go. I'm going to unenroll, and I'm going to enroll at Miami. The NCAA come out and say, hey, you always can unenroll and enroll at another school, which is news to everybody, right? But what's the point of a transfer portal and all these other rules? And what's also going to stop a team in the middle of the season from getting the hot quarterback and saying, hey, can you unenroll at your school and come over to my school and let's make a run? If you don't bring the athletes to the table, then these are going to be problems for so many people involved. And frankly, I played with Bill Belichick for a season with the Patriots. I can't imagine how he's going to deal with having to recruit players every single season to want to stay at UNC.
Were you shocked that he went back to college?
Shocked? Yes, I will say. Yeah, I was shocked. But I think that hopefully this year off, I've seen him smile more in the last year than a whole season. So hopefully hopefully it works at the college level with how he's coaching his players.
Eagles, Commanders, Bills, Chiefs. The winners will be who?
Ooh, you got Commanders. I got Jaden Daniels pulling it off, right? The young rookie pulling it off.
I knew I liked you. Next game. Next game.
Yeah, you got the Chiefs doing it. I think the Chiefs, there's not too many teams that have a Super Bowl routine where they know exactly what they're doing to get ready for this moment, and I can't wait to watch this weekend.
All right, nor can I. Appreciate you being here. It's an important conversation. I'm glad you're right in the middle of it. That's Brandon Copeland, once again here with us at Post 9.